Hello there, everybody. My name is Josh Hoover with Benefit Technology Resources, and I am very fortunate today to be with my friend Ryan Miller. And so what we're doing is, since the BTR Summit, the in-person summit had to be postponed, and we're promoting our BTR Virtual Summit, we wanted to get with all the vendors and sponsors and partners that we're working with to ask them a few questions and just gauge what's going on in the industry in this market. And Ryan was our keynote speaker for Live Summit, and he will be again next year in Denver. But wanted to get with Ryan because he's going to have a little bit different perspective of the market and what he's seeing. So Ryan, before we dive into those questions, just do a quick little intro so everybody gets an idea of who you are.
Yeah, I wish I could go quick. I am a consultant to organizations, helping them build and develop sales strategy, as well as a coach to a lot of executives, salespeople, and other individuals that are looking to perform at a high level. I have extensive now history, both serving in the benefits industry, working for a broker, as well as now I serve quite a few organizations and individuals in the industry, and I've continued to try and fight for the advocacy of the employer and ultimately the employee. And so, just happy to be involved and excited to continue to be part of the industry and helping it to move in the right direction, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, and I'll be sure to put all your link, your website and everything. Ryan has a podcast as well, so be sure to check that out. So we'll link to all that in this video. But so how are you, my question is how is your organization, but how are you innovating right now with everything that's going on? What does innovation look like for you?
Well, if they're watching video, they would see that I first started doing my own haircuts, and so I Corona hawked myself. No,
it works. It looks great.
Thank you. For my business, a lot of what I did, and probably 75% or more of the work I had always done, was virtual. And so in that sense, I didn't have to make a lot of changes in how I was delivering service. I do a lot of video calls, a lot of phone calls. Obviously, that's increased just as everybody is now on the video train. But for me, one of the things that I saw as a significant opportunity was, when the pandemic really hit the business economy and people started getting laid off, I watched some organizations, as a matter of fact, some even that I was involved in, that were cutting employees almost immediately to protect the financial well-being of the organization, but more so to protect the financial well-being of the executives. And you can say what you want as it relates to that, but that just didn't jive very well with me, because I really felt like these were employees, even some of the ones that I had seen, that had worked hard, that were serving well. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I did was decided that I wanted to move forward in building an organization for myself and for my clients, that if we ever got into this place again, that I would sacrifice myself before I sacrificed them. So even though my business took a hit financially, even though I had to make some changes, I actually hired my first full-time employee about 3 weeks ago. And so that's been a huge blessing to me. But beyond that, it was just really putting my money where my mouth was and wanting to really invest into employees at a time when they were taking on some of the biggest burden.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how different organizations are reacting to the pandemic and layoffs versus others that I've spoken to who said we refuse to lay anybody off. We're not going to do it. We're going to take hits elsewhere and go from there. So some will sink, some will swim with all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So looking forward, so 12, 24 months from now, what do you, what's exciting? What do you think is going to happen in this industry, in this market?
A lot is going to happen. I'm fortunate enough, because I guess I'm agnostic to any one person. I have been deeply involved in discussions related to innovation that was taking place previous to this happening, and then the impact of both COVID on the healthcare industry, as well as the downturn and the economic impact of the industry. And so one of the things that I've seen just starting to play itself out is, because of the high impact of utilization around the pandemic and, the cost to care for coronavirus, particularly if it goes all the way to, somebody being on a ventilator, is significant. And so that will eventually hit these employers' renewals in 2021 and 2022. And early data is showing we could see as much as a 40% increase on to the per employee per year cost just to insure. And so what I've been working with a lot of my clients on in the benefit space, and what we're really pushing for, is let's sit down with those employers now and start to have the conversation around what we're going to do to budget for 21 and 22, because the last thing that we want to see is them to cut benefits. That may end up having to be part of the solution in the short term, but there are ways to innovate. And so, it's the CFO is getting even more involved because it's such a financial burden. It's getting a lot more strategic. And so the brokers that are going to be successful are the ones that are having those conversations now. That doesn't mean they're not providing resources for people going back to work, and they're not providing resources for how to handle all that we've been going through, but they've got to be having forward-thinking conversations. And so as I believe costs are going to skyrocket, maybe at rates we have never seen before, which is crazy to think, in the season of the ACA, I think that there are brokers that are going to win big as the result of being able to have really educated conversations around projecting financial strategy.
Well, not running away from those conversations. They're hard. That you're not going to make the client happy by saying, hey, here's your 35% renewal, but being proactive and hitting that on the front end and managing expectations. I think you're spot on. That's going to be huge.
Yeah.
It'll also be interesting. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and something else, and I mean, this isn't like a toot to you guys, but this is definitely something else that's directly related to an organization like BTR. Obviously, we've seen the innovation of technology in healthcare. It's been just a train rolling forward, and it's been awesome. But there's still been a lot of people that have been hesitant to fully embrace technology across their organization. And so you're still seeing people with paper enrollments, which is crazy, and so many other things. Well, now that we have been forced to use technology by way of just people had to be dispersed, right? Everyone's working from home. I think that the firms that are fully dependent on technology, so the brokers that are partnered with the BTRs of this world, the vendor partners that are coming alongside the BTRs of this world, again, I feel like they have a huge leg up because you guys already have the infrastructure in place, and now the clients have been exposed to it by default. And so now that conversation is going to be even easier to have, and they're now more dependent upon technology than they even were 6 months ago. So I think that's going to be a big thing too, and a big blessing to the industry, because it's something that is needed. Like, nobody needs to be filling out paper anymore, and nobody needs to be on disjointed systems. I mean, it's the reality, right? And we've known that for years, but sometimes it takes really getting slapped in the face in order to see that it's a necessity. And so thank God, I think now people are going to see that necessity.
Yeah. Well, when this all started, our phones were ringing off the hook because all these clients did not have a way to enroll and to make changes online. And a lot of them said, okay, we need to do this, but we can't right now, because they weren't sure what was going to happen from an economic standpoint. And now as things pick up and start to move past the pandemic, we're seeing a big influx of that Ben admin activity, online enrollment and everything. So yeah, it's definitely crazy. So what is something that you've learned in the last few months that you think would be beneficial for this audience?
Oh, wow. So much that I think there's so many things that I'm learning more about myself than anything that I'm trying to apply. I think that probably one of the biggest things, and even right now we're recording, and this will go live in the midst of so much tension in the country as it relates to inequality and so many other things. And so whether we're talking about a conversation like that, or we're talking about trying to help people get the right outcomes with their benefits, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that the importance of seek first to understand and then be understood. Stephen Covey, one of his 7 habits of highly effective people, that to me is never probably been more important than it is right now. And to me, especially practically, it's I need to take time to sit back and listen. Like I want to sit and listen to, again, benefits related. I want to sit down and listen to that employer. I want to understand what really pains them, what they really want to see out of the future of their organization, what they care about as an individual, and how can I help them to get there? Yes, I may have a lot of the industry figured out. Yes, I may have great tools and tactics, and those things may be applied, but I just need to do a better job of understanding. At the employer level, right? You can do that with your employees. Sit and listen. From the employee to the employer, sit and listen. I just think that is something that has become so powerful for me. I've always believed it. I've tried to do a better job of it, but now more than ever, that's really coming to the forefront, whether we're talking business or personal.
Yeah, it goes back to the quote. I actually have no idea who said it, but maybe you do. It's they don't know how much you care, or how about I get this right? They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
I think that's very key.
Yep, absolutely.
So I would like to point out that your streak continues. Every time I've ever heard you speak, you've referenced Stephen Covey, which is fantastic. I hope that continues as well. So Ryan, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting and recording this video. Be sure to check out Ryan's website at ryanjamesmiller.com. I'll link it in here, and then also include his podcast as well. And stay tuned. We have several more videos coming up of our other partners and sponsors of the BTR Summit event. So again, Josh Hoover with BTR. Thanks, Ryan. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.